into my stream. It's been a while since the last one, so I hope you're all excited to hear what I have to say.
We often hear about diabetes and discussions about health, but what about its precursor? Today, we will shed light on a condition that's often overlooked, yet critical to our well-being, pre-diabetes. Let's dive into this important topic together.
So, diabetes is something that is so common, unfortunately. And I'm sure some of you out there even know someone who has diabetes. So, everyone is always talking about diabetes. What diabetes is, what you can do about it. It's all about diabetes, diabetes, diabetes. Even I'm guilty of that. Even on this stream, I talk about diabetes a lot. But I've been thinking about it, and we always talk about diabetes, but this time I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about the precursor to diabetes, because while people hear about diabetes a lot, what they don't really hear about is pre-diabetes. And you know what we're all about here? We're all about prevention. And pre-diabetes is really interesting in that pre-diabetes is reversible. And in order to prevent something, well, you have to know about it first. So here we're going to be talking more about pre-diabetes. Now, pre-diabetes is really interesting because it doesn't always show symptoms. So that can make it really tricky. 96 million adults in America are living with a diagnosis of pre-diabetes. Now, you might look at that number and think, oh my gosh, that's so high. But please note the word diagnosis. That means that they've been to the doctor has screened them, and they know about it. There's many more people out there with pre-diabetes who don't even know they have it. It's suggested that those with prediabetes, more than 80% of the people don't even know they have it. So what sort of precautions are there that we can take? Well, if you're worried about it, you can do things like get your blood sugar levels tested, especially if you're high risk. Now, what does it mean to be high risk? People who are higher risk are those who are overweight or obese, people with a family history of diabetes. So I'm not talking about some distant cousin with diabetes. I'm talking about someone in your close family, like a parent, a brother, a sister who has diabetes. If you're over the age of 45, if you're not very physically active, if you smoke, have high blood pressure, polycystic ovary system, have a history of gestational diabetes, etc. There's a lot of risk factors out there, but you don't need every single one of them. You only need just a few of them to increase your risk of prediabetes. So if you're hearing all this and you're thinking, hey, that sounds a little bit familiar, then it doesn't hurt to go to the doctor and get checked up. Now, what is pre-diabetes? Now, pre-diabetes is the precursor to diabetes. So it means that your blood sugar levels are higher than normal, but not so high to be considered to have type 2 diabetes. So it's that in-between point between normal and diabetes. Now, on the blood work, they will do a test called the HbA1c test. This measures the average blood sugar levels over the past 2 to 3 months. So it's a more comprehensive workup of the blood sugar levels compared to other tests that might reflect only the current blood sugar levels. Now, this is especially useful for doctors because it means that patients can't really cheat on this test. Because it doesn't matter if you eat really well or try to control your blood sugars really well right before the test. It's not going to reflect there. So normal will be less than 5.7%. Prediabetes is about 5.7 to 6.4%, and diabetes is 6.5% or higher. There's another blood test that people might be really familiar with called the fasting blood sugar levels, and this is just, that really quick pinprick, and it measures their blood sugar at that moment in time. So normal would be less than 100, prediabetes is 100 to 125, and diabetes is more than 126. All right, so it's just that in-between point. Now, what are the risks of pre-diabetes? Now, most of the risks of prediabetes are related to diabetes. So if you have prediabetes, you are on the path to getting full-blown diabetes, and the risks there are much the same. So most of the risks will come from, damaging the heart, the blood vessels, the eyes, the kidneys. It can lower your immune function, and it increases the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And that means that, type 2 diabetes will carry with it further risks as well, such as an increased risk of kidney failure, blindness, depression, damage to blood vessels, and even nerve damage that can lead to amputation. So individuals with prediabetes is just associated with the higher likelihood of developing all of the diseases that are linked to diabetes. So a lot of people believe that, diabetes has something to do with eating too much sugar or something like that, but that's not really the case. When it comes to diabetes, what we really are concerned about are the levels of the blood sugar in your blood sugar, but that's not necessarily connected to how much sugar that you're eating. So a lot of the damage of diabetes comes from this high blood sugar, which is why it's so important to sort of control your blood sugar levels and make sure it doesn't stay very high for prolonged periods of time. So what happens in diabetes, and to a lesser extent prediabetes, is that this high blood sugar levels will damage multiple organs in your body, because as you can imagine, your blood will go everywhere in your body. So of course, if you have abnormally high sugar levels, this is also going to affect multiple places in your body. For example, if you have diabetes, you have an increased risk of eye problems. It will increase the risk of developing eye conditions like glaucoma, cataracts, and diabetic retinopathy, which means that damage to the back of the eye, the retina, the bit of the eye that's responsible for your vision. All right, so a lot of it is all sort of linked together. One of the main things about diabetes and prediabetes is the risks to your blood vessels. And of course, when you damage your blood vessels, that means that your tissues, your organs can't get enough nutrients, it can't get enough oxygen, and that's dangerous. Now, this is what leads to a lot of the more severe risks of diabetes. For example, people with diabetes who have eye problems have those eye problems because the little blood vessels that supply the retina at the back of their eye, they're being damaged. So the retina isn't getting enough oxygen, it's not getting enough nutrients, and therefore bits of it will die off, and you start getting all of these diseases popping up in your eyes. All right, so it's all linked together. This is also why people with diabetes have an increased risk of heart issues as well, because, well, you're damaging the blood vessels. When you damage the inside of the blood vessels, you are making it more prone to develop plaques as well. And when you have plaques, you are at higher risk of heart problems and even more severe problems like a major stroke. Now, another thing about diabetes is that it damages your nerves. The high blood sugar will damage your nerves, and once your nerves die off, it doesn't really grow back. It takes a ridiculously long time, and at the rate that the high blood sugar levels are killing off your nerves, that outpaces the rate at which your nerves will regenerate. So, and it always starts from the peripheries. All right, so that means the things furthest from your core. So it will start at your toes and it works your way up. That's why people with diabetes, they start losing feelings in their feet to begin with. Now, it's a two-prong issue. Their nerves get damaged and the blood vessels get damaged as well. Now, when the blood vessel damage starts, it starts with the tiniest blood vessels first. So those are the first to go. But this also contributes to that loss of feeling in their feet. And because you have such poor blood flow to your extremities, what that means is that if you have an infection there, if you hurt yourself there, if you have an infection there, the infection tends to be much more severe, because if you don't have a really good blood supply, then your immune system can't get to the right place to fight off the foreign invaders. And the high blood sugar levels, they're also it makes the bacteria there really, really happy. So it's a two-pronged approach. It's sort of a two-pronged damage. So there's a lot of things that will just all sort of roll together to cause all of these major issues with diabetes. And that's why so many people with diabetes will end up with amputations of, either their toes or their feet or even their entire lower limb. So I've met diabetic patients who have stepped on a nail and not even realized it because they have lost so much feeling in their feet. Now, what people don't really realize is that pain is something that is actually really protective for us. When something hurts, we will check it out. We will look for the source of the problem. But when nothing hurts, for example, if you step on a nail and it doesn't hurt, you don't think to look for the issue. You don't really realize that anything is wrong, and so infection can really set in because you're not really taking care of it, because you don't realize that there's something going on there, and the infection takes hold. And then once the infection takes hold and you don't have good blood flow, you don't have really good immune function, it's really, really difficult to fight off that infection. And if you can't fight off that infection, then the only recourse you have is amputation, which is why there's so many diabetics who will end up with amputations. It's because of things like poor blood flow or an infection that can't be controlled any other way. So all of these things will also affect things even in your brain, because when you're damaging these tiny blood vessels, you're also damaging the tiny blood vessels that feed your brain. And your brain is very, very hungry. It's it's always eating up all the oxygen, it's always eating up all the nutrients. So you really want good blood flow to your brain. Now, it doesn't only affect you. Prediabetes during pregnancy, such as gestational diabetes, will increase the risk of complications for both mom and baby, including a high birth rate, preterm birth, and the need for a C-section. So it is something that we really, really want to, be on top of. We really want to be able to reverse prediabetes. So how long does it take to reverse prediabetes? It can take weeks to months, and it all depends on your determination. So there's a lot of things that we can do to reverse prediabetes. But unfortunately, it's not really your doctor giving you a magic pill that will suddenly cure you of all your problems. No, it's never that easy. So it all comes down to the individual, to the lifestyle changes that you can make that will reverse pre-diabetes. So one of them is exercising regularly. Even in people who are at a healthy weight, low levels of physical exercise are associated with higher blood sugar levels. Engaging in regular physical activity like brisk walking, cycling, swimming, or even strength training for at least 150 minutes per week, I'm not saying per day, it's over an entire week, can improve insulin sensitivity and help control blood sugar levels. Exercise in and of itself can increase insulin sensitivity. So when you exercise, your muscles need fuel, right? And that fuel is coming from the sugar in your blood. So, when you exercise, this blood sugar will all get used up, leading to lower blood sugar levels. It's also teaching your body, hey, this is the sort of thing that I need from you. So your body is learning in and of itself to be more sensitive to insulin, which is going to release the blood sugar in your blood to the cells and allow your cells to sort of take it all up. So when I'm talking about exercising regularly, I'm not saying that you have to suddenly become a gym rat and go to the gym 3 times a week. No, you don't have to do that, okay? You can just set something simple, like set a daily goal of walking 10,000 steps a day. Now you might say, okay, why 10,000 steps? Why not 9,000 or 11,000? Well, it's just because 10,000 sounds good. It's an easy number, and it it will get you up and moving a lot, because any exercise that gets you up and moving is better than no exercise at all. So I feel like what people do is that they really get themselves into a rut. They feel like, oh, I have to go to the gym. I have to go to the gym, 2 times a week, 3 times a week. But it can be really hard going from a couch potato to going to the gym that often. So what I'm proposing is that you just take little steps. Just get up and walk just a little bit more. Instead of taking the escalator, take the stairs up one flight, something like that. So you just set a daily goal of walking 10,000 steps a day. And even if you don't reach 10,000 steps a day, well, that's okay, because at least you're doing more than you did before, which is something that is good. That's something that can be celebrated. So there's also little things that we can do. For example, you want to swap out your milk teas and boba for just like something like plain green tea. Now, it's not just because green tea is lower in calories than milk tea and boba. It's because that green tea, or teas in general, are a very anti-inflammatory drink. And inflammation underlies a lot of chronic medical conditions such as diabetes. Now, it plays a significant role in the development of diabetes. Now, what I'm talking about is something called chronic inflammation, which is elevated levels of inflammation in the body over a longer period of time. Now, these increased levels of inflammatory markers in the body is closely linked to insulin resistance, which is a key feature of diabetes. When the body cells become resistant to the effects of insulin, that means that your body cells can't effectively absorb the sugar from the bloodstream, which will lead to high blood sugar levels, which then leads to all of the damage that you see with diabetes. Additionally, if you have a lot of inflammation in your body, it can actually impair the functioning of the insulin producing cells in the pancreas, the beta cells, which will then further contribute to the insulin resistance and the development of diabetes. Now, all of these inflammatory cytokines can disrupt insulin signaling pathways and promote insulin resistance. Now, it's a sort of vicious cycle, because insulin resistance can also trigger more inflammation. So it's the sort of vicious cycle that sort of drags you down and just promotes the development of diabetes and its complications. Not to mention that chronic inflammation is also linked to other things like heart disease and stroke, which are all risks of diabetes. Now, it's also linked to the other complications of diabetes as well, such as kidney issues or even eye issues. It can even promote the formation of plaques on the inner walls of your arteries. So overall, reducing inflammation is really great. And you can do this through really easy things like exercising more, like I mentioned before, maintaining a healthy weight, managing your stress as well. People always think about, your physical body, but never about other things like stress and the effect it can have on your body. And another really easy thing is just swapping out your milk teas for green teas. Another thing is eating breakfast before 8:30 a.m. Now, blood sugar is naturally higher in the mornings. That's just how our body is. It's naturally higher in the mornings because our body is just like, hey, time to wake up. You got to get moving. So it's, giving you all this fuel to get moving. Eating breakfast will stimulate the production of insulin, which allows your body cells to take up all of this glucose in your bloodstream. So eating early in the day reduces insulin resistance and lowers your blood sugar levels. Now, this is backed by research. Researchers analyzed more than 10,000 adults, and they found that people who routinely eat breakfast before 8:30 a.m. had lower blood sugar levels and lower insulin resistance. And this is regardless of whether they restricted their food intake to less than 10 hours a day or spread it out for over 13 hours daily. So it's breakfast is something that's really, really important to us. It's our first meal of the day. You're setting the tone for your body as well. And, you're setting the tone for the rest of the day. So this is another thing that is just little things that we can change in our daily lifestyle to help us out. Another thing is staying hydrated. Now, this is so important, but people don't really take this as seriously as they should. Water helps the kidney flush out excess sugar through the urine. Studies show people who drank more water had a lower risk of developing high blood sugar levels. That's because your body is always working hard at trying to regulate these blood sugar levels. All right, but what your body considers more important than getting rid of excess sugar is making sure that you stay hydrated. So if you're not quite hydrated, your kidneys will go, you know what, I'm going to hold on to the water, even if it means holding on to excess sugar, because your body will deem that more important. But if you're very well hydrated, then your kidneys will go, hey, I have all of this excess stuff. I got excess sugar. I have toxins. I have other things that I want to get rid of. But since I have extra water, then yeah, I can just get rid of it. And it's just outside of your body and it's not causing a problem anymore. So, you do want to help your body out. And this is such an easy thing to help your body out, which is just drinking more water. People who drink more water may have a lower risk of developing high blood sugar levels because, well, one thing, it's because you're allowing your kidneys to just, push out all of this excess stuff through your urine. So you're just getting rid of it, which is good. You have improved insulin sensitivity as well because chronic dehydration has been associated with insulin resistance. Okay, so drinking water regularly can help you improve insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism. Now, there's also other things as well. For example, if you drink plenty of water, you're helping out your kidneys and you're making sure that your kidneys are functioning as they should. Staying hydrated can also help you out in more roundabout ways. For example, if you're staying really hydrated, if you're drinking a lot of water, then you are filling up space in your stomach. It can increase feelings of fullness and reduce your calorie intake, which can help you maintain a healthy weight and thus reduce the risk of obesity-related diseases like diabetes. And if you're very well hydrated, then exercising is not as painful. As you may notice, if you're really dehydrated and you exercise, that's so painful. It's so difficult to manage. But if you're very well hydrated, not overly hydrated, but if you're very well hydrated and you're exercising, you will have better performance, you will have better endurance, and it's not going to be as painful. So overall, if you're drinking a lot of water, it's helping you out in so many different ways. Another thing that everyone can manage is eating more fiber. Fiber slows down the digestion of carbohydrates and delays its absorption into the blood. So, what carbohydrates do is that once you eat in carbohydrates like rice, bread, pasta, all of those things, what our body does is that it will break it down into simple sugars. This is what your body does. This is natural, it's normal, it's perfectly fine. So what happens then is that your body will break it down into simple sugars, and then your body will absorb these into your bloodstream as fuel. So what happens is in someone with normal insulin sensitivity who doesn't have diabetes or pre-diabetes, is that you're looking at your blood sugar levels and it's going to go gently up and down. Okay, that is what's going to happen. No one's blood sugar stays the same consistently. It's always going gentle ups and downs, and that's fine. That's normal, that's expected. But with someone who has, abnormalities in their insulin sensitivity or in someone who has diabetes, what you start to see is something like this. The sharp ups and downs, and that's what we don't really want. So fiber promotes a more gradual rise in blood sugar levels. It's promoting that more gentle ups and downs. And that is what we're looking for. So there's two types of fiber out there, insoluble and soluble. Soluble fiber is more effective than insoluble fiber for controlling blood sugar. So soluble fiber has explicitly been shown to improve blood sugar control, and a great source of soluble fiber is something called psyllium husk, right? So, when we're eating more fiber, you might ask, okay, how much fiber do I need to eat a day? The recommended daily intake of fiber is about 25 to 28 grams for adult women and about 31 to 34 grams for adult men, just because men tend to be bigger than women. Yet, on average, most people, we only eat about 10 to 15 grams of fiber a day. So it's estimated that only 5% of Americans will meet this recommended daily intake of fiber. All right, so it is something that we can all work on. Fiber is something that's only found in plant foods. You might find, if you're eating a tough cut of meat, you might find all sorts of, fibrous things in the meat. That's not fiber, okay? You can only find fiber in plant foods. So when you're eating more fiber, then of course you're going to be eating more plant foods. And then once you start doing that, you're already on your way to a healthier diet. So it's a great way to boost your health in such an easy way. You just have to keep in mind to eat more fiber. So another thing that we need to do is get enough sleep. Now, lack of sleep increases insulin resistance. Poor sleep also increases appetite and promotes weight gain. So there's a lot of things out there that are linked to our quality of sleep. Now, a lot of people don't really think about it. They just think about how a lack of sleep makes them feel. And if you don't get enough sleep, if you get really bad nights of sleep, you just feel terrible the next day. But what people don't realize is that your sleep is very closely linked to your physical health and even how your body will manage to get on through the day. For example, sleep deprivation will disrupt the balance of hormones in your body. And some of these hormones include the hormones that are responsible for regulating your appetite. For example, the hunger hormone will increase appetite, while you have another hormone that will signal fullness. So, lack of sleep will increase the hormone that controls your levels of hunger, making you hungrier, while decreasing the levels of the hormone that make you feel full, which means that you are more likely to feel really, really hungry, which in turn will make you more likely to eat things that you maybe shouldn't be eating or eating a lot of unhealthy comfort foods. Because, sleep deprivation will alter your brain activity as well, especially in areas responsible for food cravings and reward processing, leading to, those really tough to control food cravings. So if you're lacking enough sleep, you're feeling really hungry, you're just not feeling satisfied by your food, you've got a lot of these unhealthy food cravings, and your brain's just not working right and it's not able to rein in those cravings, you're going to end up eating something that's not quite as healthy. You're not really going to stick to the healthy diet that you should be sticking to, and you might be tempted by the dessert, the chocolate, the fried chicken out there. So poor sleep quality and inadequate sleep can also disrupt your metabolism as well, including glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. It may lead to insulin resistance, impaired glucose tolerance, and increase your risk of developing diabetes. Now, sleep deprivation or poor quality of sleep will also activate your body's stress response, leading to elevated levels of the stress hormone. Chronic stress and elevated cortisol levels, your stress hormone, can contribute to weight gain and thus metabolic dysfunction and thus diabetes. Plus, if you're really, really tired, then are you going to get out there and exercise? No, you're not. So it can lead to reduced exercise levels as well. So overall, addressing sleep disturbances and prioritizing getting enough sleep is really, really important for supporting your body's health. Another thing we want to do is eat healthy snacks more frequently. Smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day could improve insulin sensitivity and prevent blood sugar spikes and drops. Smaller portions are easier for the body to manage, leading to a more stable blood sugar levels because you've got this consistent energy supply because your body's always looking for energy because you're always doing things, and so your body's always looking for energy. So all of these regular meals, even if they're small, even if they're just a snack, it's helping your body ensure that your cells have a consistent source of energy, and this can help prevent sudden drops in your blood sugar as well. It can improve insulin sensitivity by reducing insulin resistance, and you have a more sustained energy level because, well, you're providing your body a stable energy source. Another thing we want to look at is maintaining a healthy weight. Now, studies have shown that even a 5% reduction in weight can improve blood sugar levels and reduce the need for diabetes medication. So in someone who even already has diabetes, losing weight is really, really important because once you lose that weight, your insulin sensitivity improves. Insulin starts working better in your body. This means that for people who have diabetes, they may require a smaller dose of their medications. They may require, less of their medications to get the same effect, which is really, really great. For someone who has pre-diabetes, losing weight is a key aspect to preventing it from progressing onto full-on diabetes or even just reversing entirely. So achieving and maintaining a healthy weight through a combination of diet and exercise can significantly reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Losing even just a modest amount of weight, just 5 or even 10% of your body weight, can really do so much good for your body. It can help improve insulin sensitivity and lower your blood sugar levels. Now, this works in various ways because excess fat in your body is actually very inflammatory. All right, so diabetes and weight gain is very, very closely linked. If you have too much fat in your body, you have too much inflammation in your body. And if you have too much inflammation in your body, well, as I mentioned before, all sorts of things in your body are getting damaged. Now, what people also don't realize about fat is that it's not just, the fat underneath your skin. That's the sort of, squishy fat. If you press that sort of fat, it's very soft and squishy. What we're really, really worried about is abdominal fat, which is fat around your belly, or more importantly, fat around the organs inside of you. So once you are overweight or obese, there's no way to get to that level and not have excess fat around your organs. They go hand in hand. All right, so if you are overweight, if you are obese, you have too much fat around your organs. And all of this fat around your organs will affect how well these organs will function, and it contributes to that higher level of inflammation that we see in the body. So if you have fat accumulation, especially around your pancreas, that's going to cause issues because your pancreas is the organ responsible for producing insulin. This excess fat can impair your pancreatic function and insulin secretion. But once you lose that weight, once you lose the fat around your pancreas, then you're allowing for better insulin production and regulation of your blood sugar levels. So once you do this as well, the beta cells in your pancreas are able to work better. Excess weight and a high fat diet has been implicated in beta cell dysfunction and reduced insulin secretion. So weight loss can really help preserve your beta cell function and improve insulin secretion. Now, obesity is also accompanied by other risk factors as well for type 2 diabetes, like high blood pressure. You have abnormal lipid levels, fatty liver disease, etc. So losing weight can improve these risk factors, thus reducing the likelihood of developing diabetes. Plus, once you are, managing to lose and maintain a healthy weight, it also often involves adopting a healthier lifestyle. For example, you exercise more regularly, you have a more balanced diet, rich in fruits and vegetables, and all of that altogether is going to reduce your risk of not only diabetes but multiple other diseases as well. Now, next up, we want to talk about a smart approach to weight loss, because weight loss is really, really key if you want to avoid a disease like diabetes. But there's a lot of different, diets out there, different methods for losing weight. So let's talk about some of these. For example, like the keto diet. The keto diet may actually increase the risk for heart disease. I know, I'm really sorry to say this. A new study presented in 2023 at the American College of Cardiology's annual scientific session, together with the World Congress of Cardiology, has found that the keto diet is associated with higher LDL, or the bad cholesterol levels in the blood, which will increase your risk of heart disease. So for those of you out there who might not know, a keto diet is a high-fat, low-carbohydrate eating plan designed to induce a state of ketosis in the body. So the keto diet often emphasizes consuming high amounts of fat from sources like butter, cheese, meat, coconut oil, etc. And all of these fats have been shown to increase LDL cholesterol levels, which are strongly associated with heart risk. It can also have changes in your lipid metabolism, because the ketogenic diet shifts the body's primary fuel source from carbohydrates to fat, leading to alterations in your lipid metabolism. Plus, the ketogenic diet also tends to be really, really low in dietary fiber, because if you're just thinking about it, all of the sort of foods that are really high in fiber are things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, all sorts of things which you aren't really encouraged to eat on a keto diet. So a low fiber diet also contributes to that higher LDL levels in some individuals. So, it can increase your risk of heart disease, and it can increase the risk of heart events like chest pain, which is called angina. That's before you have a heart attack. A heart attack is when your vessels are completely blocked and your heart muscle goes, oh, I'm not getting enough oxygen, and it dies out. That's a heart attack. If you have chest pain, which is angina, which is chest pain on exertion, your blood vessels are very, very narrowed. Not quite blocked, but very, very narrow. So when you do anything like exercise a little bit more, have a little bit of more exertion, have a heightened emotional state, then your heart muscle, it starts requiring more oxygen than your blood vessels can deliver. And once that starts happening, it starts hurting, because your heart muscle goes, hey, I'm not getting enough oxygen. That's angina. Blocked arteries requiring stenting, heart attacks, or strokes. Now, another thing about weight gain is that people really, really like to sort of blame medical conditions for weight gain. And a common organ that they like to blame is your thyroid. And while I don't deny that if you have thyroid problems, especially hypothyroidism, it can be really, really difficult to lose weight and really, really easy to gain weight. However, I don't want people having this idea that, oh, because I have a disease, therefore, I can't lose weight. I don't want them to lose hope like that. Even if you have medical conditions, you can still manage to lose weight. Yes, it'll be more difficult, but it's not a lost cause. You can still manage to do it. So most of the extra weight gained by individuals with hypothyroidism is due to excess accumulation of salt and water. So about 5 to 10 pounds of body weight may be gained, depending on the severity of your hypothyroidism. So yes, it is easier to gain weight. It is harder to lose weight, but it's not something that is impossible. So I don't want someone to just give up because they have certain medical conditions. Now, another really, really popular way for people to lose weight is something called intermittent fasting and calorie counting. So, intermittent fasting is, as the name suggests, people say, oh, I have this time in which I can eat food, and the rest of the time I'm going to fast. So it might be, eating one meal, eating 4 meals, eating at 1 p.m. or eating at 1 a.m. It doesn't really matter. Right? Intermittent fasting might work for losing weight because you're not eating food. And if you're not eating food, you're not taking in the calories. If you're not taking in the calories, then you're going to lose weight. That's how it works. All right, but it's not so much all about the time that you're eating. It doesn't really matter what time you eat or how often you eat. It's all about the calories that you're taking in. So if you have, really long fasting times, you can actually have side effects like feeling really fatigued, having a headache, having constipation, having a really bad mood because you're starving and you're not letting yourself eat. Or in the worst cases, after that period of fasting and you finally allow yourself to eat, you might overcompensate and overeat instead. So that is also not really something that we want happening. All right, so while intermittent fasting, yeah, it can work for some people. It's not the it's not the it's not the magic pill that a lot of people make it out to be. Another thing is a gluten-free diet. A gluten-free diet does not lead to weight loss. It is for people with celiac disease. If you do not have celiac disease, you don't really need to be on a gluten-free diet because there is no evidence showing that a gluten-free diet is effective for weight loss or general health for people who do not have celiac disease. And if you're avoiding all sorts of foods that you don't need to avoid, it may even lead to nutritional deficiency. 0-calorie drinks do not help with weight loss. I know. It sounds counterintuitive, but in fact, it's because for a lot of these drinks, instead of having sugar, they have artificial sweeteners instead, because artificial sweeteners are sweet, but they don't have those calories. However, they are linked to weight gain, diabetes, and heart disease because it can alter your microbiota negatively and can make you crave sweeter foods, and it can interfere with the body's mechanism for metabolizing sugar. Now, artificial sweeteners are linked to weight gain, diabetes, and heart disease. And it can sort of give you a license to eat more. When you think of all of these things, you have to remember that humans are humans. And it is sort of human nature to think to yourself, hey, haven't you, I'm sure you've had this thought before. You might think to yourself, hey, I gymmed really hard today. So, I can afford to eat a chocolate chip cookie. Or, I gymmed really hard today. I can afford to eat this and this, just a little bit more. We've all had those thoughts. I've had those thoughts. All right, so a lot of people think, hey, if I've had this 0-calorie drink, maybe I can afford to eat something else instead because, I've earned it, or, I can afford it. But when you do that, as humans, we are notoriously terrible at estimating calorie content in food. So when you do this sort of thing, you're actually negating whatever good you did before. You're negating your exercise gains. You can often end up eating more calories than you saved by, drinking a 0-calorie drink. So it's not really helping you out. The International Agency for Research on Cancer has found that aspartame can be possibly carcinogenic to humans. So, so sugar always has a really bad rep out there, but artificial sweeteners are not really a better alternative to sugar. Sugar is not all that bad for you. You just gotta make sure not to eat so much of it, and you're okay. There are no such thing as fat-burning foods. These following foods: pineapple, ginger, onion, celery, chilies, garlic, asparagus, green tea, etc. There's so many out there. They do not help you burn or cut fat in your body. I wish it was true because seems so useful and so easy, but of course, all good things never it's too good to be true, right? So all of these foods, they do not help you burn or cut fat. It's just all of these foods, they tend to be lower in calories. They tend to have more fiber. They might have a lot of nutrients out there. Drinking water or having a lot of these, other fruits out there that have a lot of water content, they may help you out there. They might have anti-inflammatory properties as well, like green tea. All sorts of plant foods, vegetables, fruits, they all have all sorts of anti-inflammatory properties. So all of these could help you out in some ways, but that's just part of eating a healthy diet. It's not because these foods have some magical fat burning properties. It's not so much like that. Weight loss supplements can be dangerous. So a lot of people, in an effort to lose weight quickly or easily, may turn to weight loss supplements. For example, lipase inhibitors. When you're on these lipase inhibitors, you can lose about 3.25 kilograms a year, which is not a lot. If you have a healthy diet, you could lose more than that. You run the risk of damaging the liver and kidneys, and it can cause colon cancer in animal models. Now, another medication that a lot of people will use for weight loss, even though it's not even meant for weight loss, is diuretics. This is particularly concerning because, number one, diuretics don't even help with weight loss. It will help you lose a lot of water weight. But people will think that, oh, because I get rid of it faster, it means that I'm not absorbing the calories. But that's not the case. By the time the diuretics work, the calories are already absorbed. Okay, your body is really, really good at that. It is a finely tuned, really good process for sucking up all the calories and nutrients in the small intestine. Your small intestine is fantastic at that. So by the time your diuretics work, you've already absorbed the calories, so it's useless for weight loss. Plus, you are running the risk of damaging your livers and kidneys, especially if you're abusing this sort of medicine. Another one that has gotten really popular lately, has been in the media a lot, is GLP-1 agonist injections. Now, many studies show that people tend to regain the weight lost when they stop taking the drug. So this is the sort of drug that was used as a medicine for type 2 diabetes. It's still used as medicine for type 2 diabetes. That is still the main use for it. But people have found is that this drug has the side effect of weight loss. So of course I thought, hey, if it's got this side effect, then why don't I take it for weight loss? Which is why it has now been gaining popularity as a weight loss drug, because GLP-1 in higher amounts will interact with the parts of the brain that suppress your appetite and signal you to feel full, which will reduce your food intake and therefore help you reduce your body weight, making them a sort of treatment for obesity. All right. However, if you are relying on this sort of medicine for weight loss, it also means that you're not really focusing on having a healthy diet. You're not really focusing on having a healthy lifestyle. So when you stop this sort of medication, then of course you're going to revert back. You're going to gain back all your weight because those healthy habits, that foundation, was never developed. Now, there are side effects to these medications. For example, you have gastrointestinal problems like nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, constipation, diarrhea, dizziness and fatigue, and the risk of thyroid C-cell tumors and acute pancreatitis. Now, I might say that nausea, vomiting is a side effect, but there's a lot of experts out there saying that even though these things are listed as a side effect, it might actually be the intended effect of the medication, because if you feel nauseous, you're not going to eat a lot of food. If you don't eat a lot of food, you're going to lose weight, of course. Now, there are more severe side effects, for example, acute gallbladder disease, acute kidney injury, and diabetic retinopathy complications, especially if you have type 2 diabetes, and it may even increase your heart rate. So all of these medications, while they do have very legitimate usage for use in, treating type 2 diabetics, and there is ongoing research on how it can be safely used for weight loss, it is still something that we want to, keep an eye on, make sure that more research is done into the safety of this medication and how it can be safely used for people with diabetes and for people who really, really do want to use it for losing weight. It's not for people who just want a sort of easy method for losing weight. It's not something like that. Right. So another thing that I want to crack down on is genetics. A lot of people will think, oh, I breathe air, I drink water, I gain weight. It's in my genes. It's not in your genes. Okay, so for some people, of course, some people will gain weight more easily than others, but what it really comes down to is thermodynamics. If you eat more calories than you burn, you're gonna gain weight. If you eat fewer calories than you burn, you're going to lose weight. That is how it works. All right, that is the end all. That is how it works. But even though I say this, it sounds very simple on the surface, but it can actually be really, really complicated and really, really difficult once you dig in a little bit deeper. So here are some tips for healthy weight loss. Number one, we want to increase muscle mass because a muscle burns more calories than fat. So if you have more muscle on you, then you're naturally just burning more calories than if you had more fat on you. So you want to choose foods that are lower in calories and choose foods that are high in protein and fiber. And all of these things will help you out, help you, build that muscle mass, especially if you're exercising as well, and help you lose the fat. Now, another thing I want to, change your minds on is sugar. Sugar is always made out to be super evil, but sugar is not the main culprit for your weight gain. If you look at the number of calories for sugar, carbohydrates, and protein for every 1 gram compared to fat, sugar has fewer calories compared to fat. So if you want to stay skinny or if you want to, maintain your weight or lose weight, it's not really about starving yourself. It's all about your choices. Exercise is about building muscles and increasing your resting metabolic rate. And it's good for your heart, it's good for your body, it's good for all your other organs. But you also have to link it together with a healthy diet as well. So it doesn't matter, where the fat is. If you exercise more, you're going to lose it all. But the thing you have to do is also be informed and make the right choices about what you're eating as well. Okay, so just have a look at this table. If you have 1 teaspoon of sugar, it's about 16 calories. 1 tablespoon is about 48 calories. And then you look at oil. 1 teaspoon of oil is about 40 calories. 1 tablespoon of oil is about 120 calories. That's so much. So you just think about it, right? When you are cooking your food at home and you add in, 1 spoonful of sugar, you're going to notice it, right? You think to yourself, hey, maybe I shouldn't add in that sugar. You will taste it in your food. It turns a little weird, unless of course you're making dessert. That doesn't count. So if you're cooking just normal food for your meals and you dump in sugar, it's gonna give you this off feeling, right? But if you put in oil, you don't really think about it. When you're cooking at home, you dump in oil. Do you even measure it? No, of course not. You just take that bottle and you just dump it into your pan and then you dump your food in. But that just a little bit of oil will add in a lot of calories to your food, a lot of calories that you could be very easily cutting out, but you don't really think about it. All right, so that's the pitfall when it comes to this equation, this calories in and calories out equation, is that people are notoriously bad at estimating how many calories they burn and how many calories they're eating per day. So I want to help you get a better idea of this. So estimated calorie needs per day, just have a look at this chart. People always say, oh, it's about, 2,000 calories a day. But if you are if you are a woman and you don't move around a lot, it can actually be less than 2,000 calories a day. People will also think, oh, I'm eating the same healthy diet, in my 30s as now when I'm in my 60s or 50s. What people don't realize is that as you get older, your calorie needs will reduce. So just look at this next chart. Compared to the previous chart, you might notice that as you get older, your calorie needs reduce. So you could have an amazingly healthy diet in your 30s or in your 20s, but as you get older, if you eat the same things in the same amount, you might actually cause yourself to gain weight because you're eating too many calories and you don't even realize it. Okay, so there's a lot of other things as well. For example, if you have tea, just plain tea, it's about 2 calories. Doesn't really matter what tea it is, it's about 2 calories. But then you start adding in all of the extra. You add in 1 teaspoon of sugar, so you're adding in 18 calories. You add in skim milk, which is 44 calories. A tablespoon of honey, 66 calories. Whole milk, 77 calories. So you can turn something that was very low in calories into something that is a lot higher in calories. And it is also something that people don't really pay attention to. You don't really pay attention to how much sugar you're putting in, or do you really measure out how much milk you're putting into your tea? No, you guesstimate it, right? And when you guesstimate these things, your calorie counts can often come out really, really wrong. And even if it's just something small, over time it builds up to a lot of calories a day. So another thing that people don't realize is just how much calories something can be. So example, just look at this. Just look at this boba. If you have passion fruit black tea, a lot of people will think, oh, it's got a fruit in its name. That means it must be healthier, right? People have this general idea that, oh, something with milk or cream in it is, more calorie dense, more unhealthy. But they always assume that the opposite means that if they avoid milk, if they go something that, sounds very fruity, then it's automatically a lot healthier or a lot better for them. That's not the case, okay? Bubble tea is dessert in a cup. It's not something that's healthy for you. It's not something that will ever be a healthier choice. It is something that you treat yourself to every so often, okay? Not something that you have every day with every meal. Just have a look here. Passion fruit black tea sounds healthy. It's actually 300 calories. Winter melon lemon tea, 360 calories. We have the fresh milk tea, 390 calories. You have milk tea or green milk tea, it's about 420 calories. You have matcha latte, 480 calories. It's so delicious, but it's so high in calories. All right, so there's a lot of bubble teas out there that sound really good but are really high in calories. And then you have the ones that, they're gonna be high in calories, but did you realize that they're this high in calories? You have the taro milk tea, 490 calories. Milk foam green tea, 620 calories. Brown sugar milk tea, 620 calories. Bubble fresh milk tea, 670 calories. Bubble milk tea, 700 calories. All right, in your brain, okay, I know this is not healthy for me. This is a treat. It's a lot of calories. But you might think to yourself, oh, it's not that bad, but it's pretty bad. It's like a third of your calories gone in one drink. All right, so that's another thing. People don't quite realize how high in calories some things can be. So if you're not a tea person, if you're a coffee person, I got you covered too. You have a cafe americano, right? It's just coffee and water. It's 5 calories, all right? If you have coffee with 1 tablespoon of skim milk, this is assuming you're not just dumping it in, you're actually measuring it out. That's about 7 calories. So, not too bad. Espresso's 20 calories, also not too bad. But then, you start adding more and more things in. A cappuccino, 70 calories. Coffee with milk and sugar, 41 calories. All right, and then you start getting into the even more unhealthy versions. A coffee latte, 100 calories. Flat white, 110 calories. Caramel macchiato, 120. Cafe mocha, 200. And then you have butter coffee, also known as bullet coffee or bulletproof coffee, in which they will add in things like butter, oil, coconut oil. It can be 445 calories. That's a lot. Now, our food choices out there are also really, really important. All right, you have a salad, mixed green salad, no dressing, 17 calories. That's really good, really healthy. But then, a lot of people out there, they don't like the taste of salad. So they add in things to make it more delicious. They add in salad dressing. But then once you start adding in these salad dressings, the calories start adding up. So just look at it. The best one is like balsamic dressing, which is about 44 calories. Not too bad. And then you start working your way up. Coleslaw dressing is 90. Thousand Island dressing, 96. Roasted sesame dressing, so good, but 101. Caesar dressing, 110. And mayonnaise, 150. Now keep in mind, it's only 20 mils. Okay, that's not a lot. A lot of people will add in more than that into their salad. Not to mention, it's not just salad dressings. It can be toppings as well, like cheese, bacon. Once you start adding all of these things into your salad, it turns what was once a really healthy, low-calorie meal into something that is suddenly not very healthy anymore and a lot of calories. So just because something is salad doesn't necessarily mean that it is healthy or good for you. Another thing is pasta. Plain cooked pasta is 157 calories. Pasta with a tomato-based sauce has 160 calories. Pasta with cream sauce is about 204 calories. All right. Now, it might not sound too bad here, but do you notice the little words in the corner? This is per 100 grams. The pictures are deceiving. The pictures is not an entire plate of pasta. It's 160 calories. No, it is 100 grams of pasta with tomato sauce is 160 calories. And most people will eat more than 100 grams of pasta. So pasta is not too bad. You just have to remember not to eat too much of it. And if you want to cut down on the calories, then you want to avoid the ones with a lot of cream sauce. Next up is pastries. 1 slice of white bread, not the entire loaf, is 73 calories. 1 butter croissant is 231 calories. 1 piece of yellow cake can be 245 calories. 1 piece, not the entire loaf in the photo, 1 piece of brioche is 329 calories. All right, so when it comes to our pastries as well, you can see a running theme here. The more butter that's added into it, the more sugar, the higher in calories it's going to be. All right, so even when it comes to these sort of vegetable dishes, it also depends a lot on the cooking method. For example, if you have steamed mixed vegetables, it's about 59 calories. You can eat a huge amount of steamed mixed vegetables and feel really, really, really full at the end and take in very few calories. But on the other hand, if you are deep frying your vegetables, it's all that oil. It will add on so many unnecessary calories. For example, vegetable tempura is 238 calories. Again, this is per 100 grams, not that entire plate there, per 100 grams. Right? Even when it comes to our meat as well, it really depends on which bits of it you're eating and how you're cooking it. So for example, if you're boiling or steaming your chicken, it's going to be lower in calories than if you are deep frying your chicken. If you're not eating the skin, it's also lower in calories. So best off is if you're boiling or steaming your chicken. Next up is if you're grilling your chicken, that's because you have to add a little bit of oil so it doesn't stick to that grill. Worst is if you are frying the chicken. That will add in a lot of calories, again, because of all of the oil that you are adding in. So another thing is that coconut water. Coconut water is something that is surprisingly high in calories. People think that, oh, it's from a plant. It looks sort of clear like water. So, they have this impression that it's not very high in calories. But coconut water is pretty high in calories. It's about 43 calories for every 240 mils. Pork balls, just 2 balls, not the bowl, 2 balls. It's about 80 calories. 1 cup of orange juice is about 113 calories, and one red bean bun is about 177 calories. So that is also something that is more for dessert than as a regular meal. Now, next up, you have a double chocolate chip cookie, one piece, 213 calories. White chocolate chip macadamia nut cookie, 218 calories, also just one piece. Glutinous rice balls with black sesame filling, 3 of them is 230 calories. All right, people don't quite realize these things. All right, 2 slices of kaya butter toast is about 307 calories. How many people would have this for breakfast every day? That is a lot of calories just gone for breakfast. And is it very filling? Not necessarily. Fried rice with shrimp, 1 cup. All right, people tend to eat more than 1 cup of this. It's about 329 calories. That's because when you fry rice, you have to have a lot of oil there. And 1 protein bar can be 410 calories. So if you are exercising a lot and you're just guzzling down those protein bars, it might be really good for, getting that protein, but it's not so good if you're trying to lose weight because that's a lot of calories for a protein bar. Now, other things as well are these sort of noodle dishes. It can be 491 calories, and you might look at it and you think, hey, that doesn't look so bad. It doesn't look, super unhealthy, but it can actually have a lot of calories in it. Durians, oh, a lot of people love them, but they're also really, really high in calories. One fruit can be 885 calories. Another one out there is mooncakes, a double yolk mooncake. One mooncake is 890 calories. So that's a lot. So when you're eating mooncakes, you don't cut it into 4. You cut it into 10, and then you have, one tiny bite of it. That's how you eat mooncakes to reduce the amount of calories that you are taking in. So the takeaway from all this is that if you are looking at preventing diabetes, what we really want to focus on is something called pre-diabetes, because it's at that point that you can really take concrete steps to improve your health and reduce your risk of getting full-blown type 2 diabetes. And it's at that point that we can really, really work on prevention, stopping ourselves from getting a disease to begin with. Because once you have a disease, it's really, really difficult to, backtrack then, because you've already done that sort of damage to your body and you've already got that disease. So prevention is always, always better. And a key point to preventing diabetes is losing weight. And there's a lot of ways to lose weight out there, but what it really comes down to is just calories in and calories out. But what we as humans really, really struggle with is estimating how many calories we burn and how many calories we're eating in. So hopefully with this, you've gained a better understanding of the amount of calories out there, and you've gained a better understanding of how you as an individual can help yourself maintain a healthy weight and reduce your risk of all of these diseases out there.
Now we will be answering some questions from the audience. Please state your question in the live chat section. Kindly avoid asking questions about personal illnesses and ask each question only once. Dr. Ee, can you please clarify if soybeans have any link in soothing stomach problems like gastric?
Okay, so when it comes to gastric issues, there are so many things that can cause gastric issues. It's really tough to say that any one food has a link to soothing all of these gastric issues, because you have to sort of pinpoint what is the issue to begin with. For example, if it is an inflammatory issue, if you have gastritis or inflammation of your stomach lining, then the fact of the matter is that if you have that sort of inflammation, anything you eat can irritate it. Soybeans can, just because you are putting stuff in there, you're putting stuff in contact with the lining of the gastric, it can be something that can be irritating to it. But if you have something else, for example, if you have gastric issues because of reflux, then people might find that, hey, if I move on to a diet with a lot of fiber, with more plant foods, then it could help out their symptoms. If you are having gastric issues, not just upper gastric issues, but lower gastric issues, it could be issues like if you have celiac disease, then it's really just, avoiding gluten. Or you could have something like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis or other things. There's a lot of different causes out there of gastric issues, but generally, on a general basis, if you eat more fiber, if you eat more plant foods, it can often, help either not trigger any gastric issues, or it can help you, just gain a healthier body and help you out with any of the gastric issues that you might have there.
Dr. Ee, can you share with us more about the benefits that researchers have found in black goji berries?
So there are a lot of, benefits of black goji berries. And one of the benefits that researchers have found is that black goji berries have a lot of strong antioxidants in there. And in fact, it can have a higher phenolic content than blueberries. So a lot of people, they already know, hey, blueberries are the super berry out there. They're really high in antioxidants. They're really good for you. But what researchers have found is that black goji berries can actually have a higher content than blueberries. Now, if you look at fruits in general, the more vibrant the color, or, in some cases, the darker the color, then the more antioxidants they have, the more of these plant compounds that they have, because it's all in that sort of pigment in there. And if you look at black goji berries, even compared to red goji berries, it's got a higher level of phytochemicals in it. So it will have a stronger antioxidant effect. And because it has a stronger antioxidant effect, because it has all of these plant nutrients in it, researchers have also found that black goji berries can actually have effects on inflammation. It can help reduce the levels of inflammation in your body. And if you have, certain health conditions that are very inflammatory, for example, if you have gouty arthritis or you have other inflammatory diseases in your body, then this may help you out because it can help decrease the levels of pro-inflammatory markers in your body. So because of all of this, because it's got such a strong antioxidant effect, such a strong anti-inflammatory effect, researchers have found that black goji can actually help you out with certain diseases out there that are very strongly linked to inflammation. For example, if you have fatty liver disease, black goji berry may help prevent it. It may also help prevent, neuroinflammation, which is inflammation of the neurons in your brain, and thus can help alleviate any memory dysfunctions in there because it's helping cut down on this sort of inflammation out there. Now, another thing that researchers have found out about black goji is that it can help you, encourage the growth of a healthy gut microbiome. And a healthy gut microbiome is so important out there. More and more research is showing that, we want to be really good buddies with our gut microbiota because our gut microbiota has a really strong link with the health of the rest of our body. For example, our gut microbiota can help us train our immune system starting from young. So if you have a healthy gut microbiota, you're helping out your immune system as well. And because of this link, researchers have also speculated that black goji may also have this immunomodulatory effect, meaning that it's helping out your immune system in different ways through all of these, different methods out there. So it may actually help promote your immune system actions, not only by helping out your gut bacteria, which in turn helps out your immune system, but also because of all of the plant nutrients in it, the polysaccharides as well. many polysaccharides can help out your immune system. So black goji berry is something that is really, really great for you. And it is something that, all of us can benefit from adding into our diet.
Dr. EE, I read in Newsweek that too much protein is not good for the arteries. Can you expand on this?
All right, so there has been an article that has been making its round recently, and it's an article out there going like, hey, we have found this potential link between protein and heart disease. And it really freaks people out, all of these media, these news articles out there, because the headlines as always is protein will give you heart disease, or something really inflammatory, something really clickbaity like that. Right? But if you look into the research, it's not so much the protein itself is causing heart issues, but a high levels of a certain type of amino acid, which is going to cause your heart issues. So when you're looking at that, you have to remember is that it is one research paper that has been interpreted a bit unfairly by the news outlets out there. But what the takeaway message is that when you're looking at all of these things, yes, it's okay to eat the protein. You don't have to worry about it too much. Just make sure you have protein as part of a healthy diet. You're not going crazy eating tons and tons of red meat. Okay, if you're not doing something like that, you're going to be okay. All right, I don't want people reading these headlines and then thinking to themselves, oh my gosh, does this mean that I can't have protein at all? No, it doesn't. Do not take it to the extremes like this. All right, we always have to take everything we read on the internet with a pinch of salt. Okay, so what this is really showing is that researchers are going, hey, we've noticed a link between higher levels of one particular amino acid, which is commonly found in protein, to heart disease. And this may warrant further research, further investigation to help really flesh it out to see if there's really a link out there or not. All right, so it's just this. It's not, oh my gosh, this means that protein is going to give everyone heart disease. It's not to that level. So what we really want to do is just keep in mind, okay, if we're going to have a protein, then we want to take in, healthy sources of protein. We don't want to take in a lot of, protein isolates, because that's not really the healthiest source of protein out there. So we want to take in, wholesome sources of plant protein, because plant protein already has a huge amount of research behind it. Decades of research, years and years of research out there from multiple sources, multiple countries, all showing that plant protein is a healthy addition to your diet. All right, so you want a wholesome plant protein to your diet. You don't want to, suddenly go off and get, all of these protein isolates or something like that, because it's not necessarily as healthy as it would be if you took in a wholesome source of plant protein. So keep eating in your plant protein and you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Dr. EE, is a type 2 diabetes patient who is injecting insulin every day still able to reverse diabetes? The blood sugar level has already dropped from 7.8 to 7.
Okay, so when it comes to type 2 diabetes, it can be quite difficult to judge just from, oh, are they injecting insulin every day? Because when it comes to type 2 diabetes, there are different levels of severity to it. For example, in the very beginning stages of type 2 diabetes, what a lot of patients will start off on is tablets. Tablets to help your body secrete more insulin. But the thing about type 2 diabetes is that as the disease goes on, you sort of get stuck in it's sort of a negative feedback system. You get stuck in this negative feedback system of once you have type 2 diabetes, you're very insulin resistant. Therefore, your beta cells in your pancreas try their very best to produce more and more and more insulin to help you reduce the high blood sugar levels in your blood. But that sort of will stress out your beta cells in your pancreas, which means that your beta cells in the pancreas start to fail. And it's at that point that your body actually cannot produce enough insulin as your body needs because your beta cells are failing. And then it's at that point that many type 2 diabetics are put on injectable insulins to help boost their bodies failing failing beta cells. So at that point, it really depends on how severe their diabetes is. If too many of their beta cells have failed, then it may mean that they will be insulin dependent, meaning that they will never be able to come off injecting insulin. But if they still have enough healthy beta cells in their pancreas, then by taking methods such as losing weight, exercising more, eating healthier, yes, they may be able to move off the injectable insulin, but it really, really depends. But in any case, exercising more, eating healthier, losing weight is always a really great idea for anyone with type 2 diabetes, because what you really want to do is be able to reduce the levels of insulin that you're taking in. You want to, reduce the strain on your body. You want to improve the insulin sensitivity of your body. And by doing that, you are going to reduce the risk of those more severe complications later on.
Dr. Ee, I recently learned that chemical or synthetic sweeteners may actually cause a spike or increase in blood sugar levels. Will stevia be a good alternative to table sugar? Also, what are the effects of bovine colostrum in type 2 diabetes patients? Can it reduce blood glucose levels?
All right, so there are a lot of artificial sweeteners out there that may increase the blood sugar levels. When it comes to artificial sweeteners, it's something that is sort of synthesized in a laboratory. Stevia is something that is extracted from a natural plant, the stevia leaves. So while it is not as bad as the artificial sweeteners, and it can be an alternative to natural sugars, what we really want to realize with diabetes and blood sugar levels is that people always fixate on sugar, on the sugar in their foods and how sweet a food is, when in reality, it's got nothing to do with how sweet a food is or the sugar in your food. It's all about the glycemic index of a food. Okay, and the glycemic index it's sort of a rating system of your food, of how fast does it make your blood sugar increase. So it goes from 0 to 100. 100 is something like glucose. You take in pure glucose, your blood sugar is going to go like zoop. All right, that's 100. Something like 0 is something that's not going to make your blood sugar go up at all, but anything you eat is going to make your blood sugar go up. So it really depends on the glycemic index of a food and not the sugar, not how sweet something is. All right, so you want to pick foods with a low glycemic index, and that's doesn't really have anything to do with the sugar it has or how sweet a food is. For example, a potato or white rice has a glycemic index of like 88. That's really, really high. But is a potato or white rice sweet? No, it's not. Right? But still, it's going to make your blood sugar go like that, especially if you have type 2 diabetes. But then if you have something with a little bit more fiber, like brown rice, then it's going to reduce the glycemic index of the food because of all the fiber there, and it will help reduce that spike in your blood sugar levels. All right, so that's what we're sort of looking for, not so much as, hey, I need to replace my table sugar with stevia. It's not quite as easy as that, because there's a lot of sweet things out there that actually don't increase your blood sugar levels. For example, glucose is rated as 100. It's pure sugar. It's this type of sugar that they actually measure in your bloodstream when you're looking at diabetes. But another type of sugar, for example, fructose, fruit sugar, actually has a glycemic index of 23, which is quite low. But is fruit sugar sweet? Yeah, of course it's sweet, but it's not going to make your blood sugar spike like that. It's just going to go like gentle ups and downs. So it's not so much just hyperfixating on the sugar. You want to look at the glycemic index of the foods. Or, if you don't really feel like, looking up the glycemic index of every food you eat, here's an even easier, even lazier method for helping you out, is just to eat more fiber. Because a lot of the foods that are lower in your glycemic index, which is what you're looking for, a low glycemic index, are foods that have more fiber. All right, so if you have a lot of fiber in your body, it's going to help, sort of reduce those spikes. It's going to give you those gentle ups and downs that you're really looking for. Now, if you're looking for bovine colostrum in type 2 diabetic patients, what it comes down to for reducing blood sugar levels is just your normal diet, okay? If you have type 2 diabetes, there are two things you really, really need to stick with. Number one is you want to stick with your medications. Take your medications as your doctor gives them to you, okay? Because the dangers of type 2 diabetes is from the high blood sugar levels. All right, that is where all of the health problems come from, high blood sugar levels. So you want your medications to reduce those blood sugar levels. You want to take them. In the meantime, you want to work on your diet. Make sure you have a very healthy diet, full of a lot of, plant foods, full of a lot of fiber, and you want to exercise more. You want to lose weight, maintain a healthy weight. All right, and by doing that, you may be able to ease yourself off of the medications that your doctor put you on to control your high blood sugar levels. Do not fall prey to a lot of these, weird and wonderful foods out there like bovine colostrum. There's a lot of foods out there that will say, you know what, this will magically reduce your blood sugar levels, or this will also magically reduce your blood sugar levels. There's a lot of foods out there, but just generally, you don't really have to spend a lot of money or go looking for all of these special things if you just go to the supermarket out there. Just look at your plants and vegetables. Just look at all of the things out there. That's all you really need. You just need a rainbow of fruits and veggies in your diet, and that will be one of the best methods for reducing your blood sugar levels even if you have type 2 diabetes, and it will help you improve the health of your other organs as well. So don't stress too much about finding out some, magical cure-all. Just focus on exercising more, maintaining a healthy weight, and having a diet full of all sorts of plant foods.
Dr. Ee, is the aging of tiny blood vessels one of the factors that contribute to the deterioration of our brain health, eyesight, and reproduction system?
Yes, as we get older, our tiny blood vessels will not work as well because, well, damage builds up over time. And one of the things that are more easily damaged are our tiny blood vessels because, they're so, so small. Some of them are so small that only one red blood cell can pass through at a time. All right, so they're incredibly tiny. And because they're so tiny, they're also incredibly fragile, which means that over time, damage builds up and you have all of these tiny blood vessels that will be damaged over time. It's just a fact of life. We will damage our blood vessels. We will put our body through stress. We will put our body through all sorts of damage out there. If you're living in a city, just breathing the air can be damaging because of all the pollution out there. So yes, the aging of our tiny blood vessels is one of the reasons that can contribute to the deterioration of our body, of our various different organs out there. But that doesn't mean that we have to give up. There are all sorts of things that we can do to help, mitigate this damage. There's not a lot that we can do to completely avoid it because one of the factors that causes it is just time. All right, unfortunately, it's just the passage of time that will cause it. But what we can do is things like, eat a healthy diet. If we take in a lot of plant nutrients, a lot of antioxidants, a lot of phytochemicals, polysaccharides, all of these things can help bolster our own defenses, help improve our body's, ability to either, help repair this damage by growing new blood vessels or, help us stop the severity of the damage to begin with, because a lot of this damage can result from processes like oxidation, which can damage these tiny blood vessels. And if we exercise more as well, that's also really, really good for our cardiovascular system, including our blood vessels. So it's all of these things that can contribute to the deterioration of it. But there's also a lot of things that we can do to help support us and help, reduce the level of deterioration.
Due to time constraints, the next question will be our last question. Dr. Yi, I've heard NMN supplements are banned in the US, but that they're going to be classified under the drug category. Does this mean that they are more effective?
So people always think that just because something is classified as a drug, it is somehow more effective or it is somehow stronger. That's not necessarily the case. There is more of a, hey, the FDA is more saying, hey, it's not because it is stronger or more effective, therefore it's going to be classified as a drug, but more of a, hey, on closer look, this sort of thing has a lot of side effects that we want to have more of a control of. So what they're saying is, hey, this thing needs more control. They want to make them go through more trials, more proof, more research into the side effects, going such as, because the thing about drugs is that when it is regulated like that, you have to be able to say, okay, at this dose, it will cause these sort of side effects. These are the sort of known side effects. This is the safety margin. This is the half-life. This is such and such and such. This is a lot of things that you have to be able to prove. You have to be able to prove all of these things, going like, okay, so we have researched all of these side effects out there, and we can show you that we have, control over how much is safe to give someone before all of these side effects are going to become more of an issue. So it's not that it is, better or more effective. It's more, hey, we want to have more control over the side effects that we've noticed that this thing can have. So it doesn't mean that it is more effective, but a lot of people will look at these things and say, oh, they want to take all of these sort of pills out there because they assume that it's going to help their health and it's not going to harm their health. When researchers looked more into this, they found that, while on the surface it seemed like, hey, I'm going to increase your cellular energy. And while it can be, they have this idea that it's going to be really, really good for your normal cells. But they all always forget that there's other cells in your body, like cancer cells, that will also have increased metabolism as well. And there's not a lot of research looking into how these things actually work in the body. And so researchers set out to examine how much of it was present in cancer cells, in T cells and healthy cells. And they found that these sorts of compounds could actually increase the risk of serious diseases, and high levels of it could actually increase the risk of developing certain types of breast cancer, or even cause cancer to metastasize to the brain. And once it's in the brain, there's very, very little that doctors can do. So it's more of a, we want to have a better insight into these side effects. We want to control it before, we allow people to take it. When we want to know more about what sort of harm it could cause before we just allow it out there. So it's more looking at it and making sure that, they're really looking into the negative side effects rather than meaning, oh, it's more effective for us.
Thank you, Dr. EE, for taking your time to educate us regarding health today.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's been so long since I've had this chance to do this. So I'm so grateful that all of you have tuned in for this session, and I hope that it was both entertaining and informative.
Thank you everyone for watching. This video will be accessible until March 13th, 9 a.m. Take care and stay safe. Goodbye.